a resort for your Walt Disney World vacation can be so overwhelming, especially because there are so many different resorts to choose from. You can choose a value, moderate, deluxe, and then so many options in each of those categories. That is why I wanted to make this video to do a review on the Wilderness Lodge, since we just recently stayed there. So hopefully this can help you determine whether Wilderness Lodge is a good fit for your family. Before we jump into the video though, I did just want to introduce myself in case you're new here. My name is Allison, and here at Main Street Mommy, I like to make all different types of Disney World content. So if that's the type of videos that you like to watch on YouTube, definitely hit that red subscribe button and let's get into the video. So my family and I just stayed in the Wilderness Lodge over the holiday season. So we had actually stayed at Wilderness Lodge in 2024 as well, not during the holiday season. So coming two different times during two different times of the year, it was obviously a little bit of a different experience at Christmas time. They had that whole huge tree and all these lovely decorations, but I'm really just going to focus more on what the actual resort has to offer. So let's start out with the theming of the resort. So there are obviously, everybody has their own opinions on what they want their resort to be themed like. Some people love those big, larger than life, in your face Disney theming resorts. And some people would rather choose resorts that are a little bit less of that, more subtle design and things like that. And that is mostly what you will find coming into deluxe resorts. But what I absolutely love about the deluxe resorts is that they have their own theming outside of being Disney themed. So just like Wilderness Lodge is themed towards the Pacific Northwest with little touches of Disney put into the theming. So that is what the main theme of Wilderness Lodge is this Pacific Northwest vibe, and basing it off on what it's themed for, including all the little Disney touches. It is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. When you walk into this gorgeous lobby, I think one of the best lobbies on property. It might be equal to Animal Kingdom Lodge, but I don't think any other resort has a lobby as grand as Wilderness Lodge lobby. When you walk in, you really feel like you have transported to another area of the country. You really get that whole vibe. I mean, I had watched a couple of videos before we went on our first trip to Wilderness Lodge, and let me tell you that videos and pictures do not do this lobby justice at all. When I walked in the first time, I literally cried because it was just so beautiful and just larger than life. And when you walk in there, I mean, I could just sit in that lobby for hours and just sit there and look at all the details around, all of the wood and timber that's inside the lobby. They have their own geyser outside by the pool. The whole outside area in the back by the lake is just so beautiful. You really just, like I said, you feel transported, that when you come back from a day at the park, it just feels like you are stepping away from all the chaos, all the overwhelm, and you are being welcomed into this wonderful, calming space that you feels like you are at home when you walk into that lobby, or when you walk into really any part of the resort, even the rooms. You just get this nice, cozy feeling. And talking about all of that feelings of calm and, getting that homey feeling, I think it has a lot to do with the location of where Wilderness Lodge is. So Wilderness Lodge is in the Magic Kingdom area, but it's not on the monorail. You actually have to take a boat or a bus. Usually it's a boat. Sometimes they don't even have bus transportation available. They'll tell you to go to the boat. But it's just a quick boat ride over to Magic Kingdom. And personally, I love the boat. It's another relaxing way to get to Magic Kingdom. So the location to me is actually a plus, that it's not right on the monorail line, where if you are looking for that extra convenience of maybe walking or, the monorail might be a little bit faster than the boat. But for me, having it be a little bit separated from that main Magic Kingdom area gives it that isolated feeling so that you do feel that calmness when you get there. It's not overly crowded. That is one thing that you will notice during the holiday season, is that the lobby can become a little bit more crowded because people are going out of their way to visit Wilderness Lodge during the holidays, where you don't find that as much during the rest of the year. People are really more visiting the monorail resorts or, the resorts over by Epcot. So Wilderness Lodge kind of has that isolated feeling. And for me, that is such a huge plus because, like I said, you could just sit in that lobby and just sit by the wonderful fireplace and hear the music and just feel totally relaxed. You don't have tons of people weaving in and out because of this more isolated feeling being outside of that main Magic Kingdom area. So more on the topic of transportation and the boats. Like I said, it is a quick boat ride over to Magic Kingdom. And you might be thinking you might not want to have to deal with a boat, but the large boats you can push a stroller onto. They do have some smaller boats that you would have to fold your stroller up, but I honestly have a feeling that they might be doing away with the smaller boats, especially with the new Lakeshore Lodge Resort coming in probably next year. I think they're going to need a lot more of the bigger boats. So in the future, there might be some boat sharing between Lakeshore Lodge and Wilderness Lodge. Right now, there is some sharing between the campground and Wilderness Lodge. But honestly, like coming out of Magic Kingdom, especially like after the fireworks at closing, it is so nice to be able to just go down to the boats and not deal with the crazy mass of people trying to get to the monorail or the ferry boat. This is its own boat that, like I said, sometimes it goes to the campground, but mostly it will stop at Wilderness Lodge first. So it really is such a quick boat ride. And like I said, it just feels a little bit more special to me. I don't know. I just love the boats so much. I do. I love the boats. Outside of the boats, you are going to be taking the bus to every other location. That's Disney Springs, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. You have to take the bus to there. But one thing to remember with the buses is that Wilderness Lodge is actually one of the smallest, or it might actually be the smallest deluxe resort. So there is no internal bus loop. The buses come really quick. I've never had to wait more than like 10 minutes for a bus, whether it's at the resort waiting or at a location waiting, because there is less people. It just feels a little bit more like the buses come a little bit more often. So we never had a problem with the buses at all from Wilderness Lodge or back to Wilderness Lodge. And like I just mentioned, with Wilderness Lodge being the smallest deluxe of the resorts, is actually a huge pro for my family. We absolutely love the smaller scale of Wilderness Lodge because that means that everything you need is all in one building. So unless you are staying at the Boulder Ridge DVC areas or the cabins that go outside the lakes, everything is inside. You don't need to walk to another building to get to the dining areas or the bus. Everything is right there. So that really comes in handy when it's bad weather. The bus from the boat, you do have to walk outside. Obviously, you have to walk outside, but I mean, it's not covered. There's not a covered walkway from the boats into the lodge. So if it is raining, that is something to think about, is that you do have to walk from the boat to the resort. So make sure you have your rain gear on you. But when you're coming from the buses, it's a covered pathway that brings you back inside the resort. So that is really nice, having that covered walkway. And from the boat to the resort is really not a long walk, just takes a couple of minutes to get out to the dock. So let's talk about dining at the Wilderness Lodge. So Wilderness Lodge does have one character dining. That is storybook dining with Snow White and Dopey and Grumpy, as well as the Evil Queen. This is only for lunch and dinner. They do not have a breakfast option. So definitely keep that in mind when you're doing your planning. They do not have a breakfast option, but they do have breakfast at Whispering Canyon Cafe, which is located inside the lobby. This is a all you care to enjoy. Some of it is all you care to enjoy. You can get skillets that are all you care to enjoy, but then they also have other entree appetizer items that are just a la carte. But we have gone there for breakfast, and it was a really nice breakfast, and it's really nice being able to get a little bit more of what you want. If you want some more waffles or eggs or whatever it is you want, you can get more of that inside the skillet. Whispering Canyon does have a reputation of being a little silly. The waiters and waitresses can get a little silly with you, but it's fun. It's really fun, and the kids have always liked it when we go there, so that is always an option. And then there's also Roaring Fork, which is the quick service location, and then there's also Geyser Point, which is technically the pool bar, but it's more like a restaurant style than just the pool bar. They do have sit-down seating, but there are no reservations. It's walk-up only. You can also get to-go orders from Geyser Point, and they really do have such wonderful food. It's really, really yummy. So definitely check that out if you're going to stay there, or even if you're not staying there and you just want to come by and visit for the day. Check out Geyser Point. And also Roaring Fork, the quick service, has some really, really nice items. The main food is just your typical quick service food. There's nothing really of like a standout, but the bakery area definitely has a few standouts. They have their famous bear claw, which is delicious. It's so huge and it's really good. But then also last time had never tried it before because we'd always gone for the bear claw. But this time they were out of the bear claw, and the restaurant or the Roaring Fork manager told us to get the cinnamon roll because it uses the same dough as the bear claw. So we got the cinnamon roll, and it was the best cinnamon roll that I've had on property. Better than Gaston's, better than any cinnamon roll that I've had in Disney World. Roaring Fork had the best one, and it was really good. Everybody loved it when we had that together. It was really, really good. And Roaring Fork also has my absolute favorite Joffrey's latte in all of Disney World. It's the Wilderness Spark Latte, which is basically like a Nutella latte. It is so good. I will go out of my way to make sure that I get at least one Wilderness Spark Latte when I'm in Disney World. No matter where I am staying, I'm getting a Wilderness Spark Latte. It is so good, and it makes me feel like I'm home and I'm back in Disney World, and that is what I want. So definitely give that one a try. They also have, I think it's a s'mores latte they have there. Is it the s'mores latte? I'm gonna have to check that out. If it's not a s'mores latte, I will put here what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's a s'mores latte. But they also have some really yummy dessert options. Like they have that little bear shaped chocolate dessert that was really good. They also have some holiday specialty holiday foods too. Like they had like a white chocolate igloo over the holiday season, so that was nice too. But the dining is really good, and there's so many options that you can try. And also what's great about Wilderness Lodge is that you can take the boat over to Magic Kingdom, hop on the monorail, and check out the other restaurants that are in the monorail resorts. We always try to do that. On travel day, if we're staying at Wilderness Lodge, we always head over to the Polynesian and get the Captain Cook's nachos for dinner. That's just like a tradition that we started because we love them, and it's so easy to get over there from the boat. It really is just so easy. It's not as crowded, especially during the day. It's not crowded at all to try to get on a boat, and then you can just hop on the monorail and go wherever you'd like on the monorail resorts. So it's really nice having those other restaurant options available to you being at Wilderness Lodge. So let's talk a little bit about the amenities that are available at the resort. So you're going to have your typical poolside activity area. Like they'll have the DJ and they'll do the cute little, trivia games. And they also usually do a rubber duck race going down the waterfall area into the pool, which is really cute. The kids always love doing that. And then they have at Humphrey's Hideaway, which is right next to the pool, they have a lot of craft things that go on in there. And on the schedule, you will see exactly what is being offered. And some of them are at an extra cost, but it's usually just a couple of dollars. But it's really fun thing to do on a rest day. There really is so many things to do when you are at Wilderness Lodge for the rest day. They have two pools. They have the main Copper Creek pool, and then they have the quiet pool over by the Boulder Ridge DVC area. It doesn't have the DJ or anything like that. It's actually a zero entry pool, so it's really nice if you just kind of want to get away from the shenanigans going on over at the main pool. So that is really nice that they have two offerings. There is, I think, 2 hot tubs, and they do have a water slide as well at the main pool area. Now, another bonus is that they do have a splash play area for kids under 48 inches. It's very cute. It has like a little playground with a slide, and then around the bottom, like little squirts, jets that squirt up. So it's a really nice little splash play area for the little kids, and it's right next door to the main pool, which is nice. And some other amenities or activities that should be included in this is that I think once a week, or I'm really gonna have to check into that. I don't know if it's every day or only a couple of times a week, but they do have a Wilderness Lodge tour that someone will walk you through in the morning, walk you through how the Wilderness Lodge was made, different things about the lodge, because there really are some details about the lodge that are so interesting. And taking this tour really gives you an idea of everything that went into the lodge, and it almost kind of makes it just that much more special knowing everything that went into it. So if you are staying there and you want to do this tour, I will put up here when it's offered. I know it's in the morning, but I can't remember if it's every day or just a couple days a week. But they do have that. And then they also have some more like adult craft things where you can build like a board that says like Wilderness Lodge on it, or home, and it is at an extra cost, but that is something that you can do. I do think that is for adults only, but that is also available. And then they also have an arcade as well. It's not the biggest arcade, but again, Wilderness Lodge is a smaller resort, so they don't really need to have a giant arcade like they do at like the value resorts where there's tons of people staying there. So this is a nice size arcade. It has all the basics that you really need for an arcade. So there is that as well. So let's get into the actual rooms that are available at Wilderness Lodge. So every room is pretty much the same except for the location of the room. So you have the resort view room, you have water view room, and then you have firework view room, and then there's also club level as well. So we stayed in a water view room, and we had views of like the waterfall and the pool. And if you kind of turned your head a little bit out of the balcony, you did have a lake view, which was nice. It was a very, very nice room. One thing to note is that because Wilderness Lodge is a smaller resort, the rooms are smaller than a lot of other deluxe resorts. It is a smaller room, and it's only going to fit 4 people unless you stay in one of the DVC rooms. So this is going to have 2 queen beds or a king, and there is no 5th sleeper or anything like that. But even though the room is on the smaller side, we are a family of 4. We never felt tight or anything like that. I do wish that the table situation was a little bit better. It really is just kind of like a side table with like 2 chairs next to it. So it was kind of hard to eat in the room unless you utilized like the chairs and table from the balcony. So that was one con that we found, was that there really wasn't a place to like sit and eat some food in the room, or even just to have the kids sit at the table and like color and play. The table was not big. So that is one thing because the room is a little bit smaller, you don't have that space dedicated to either eating or having the kids playing. So that is one thing to think about. Other than that, the beds are set up so that you can fit the luggage underneath, which is always nice. We never have a problem fitting our things into the drawers. We are a unpacking family where I'm going to unpack everything and put all of our clothes and stuff into the drawers. So we never have a problem with a week-long stay with a family of 4. We're able to fit everything into the provided drawers. There are plenty of outlets. There's plenty of other storage space within the closet. So if you are getting a grocery delivery or you want to have space to put things, there is tons of storage space, which is really nice. There's nice shelving. The closet is nice and big. So there really is ample space to put your items in this room. The bathroom is also a really nice size. It has one of those sliding doors that separate it from the rest of the room, and you're going to have your sink in one space and then the toilet and shower in another space. So you can have someone using the toilet or shower, closing the door, and then having someone else in the sink area. So if you have multiple people trying to get ready at the same time, this is really nice to have. Or you can completely close the entire thing off and use the whole space for yourself. So that is really nice having it. There's 2 sinks. It's really very spacious. The shower is really nice. I did ask the cast member if we could have a room with a tub because my son was still taking baths. He's not into showers right now. And they did mention to me that they are going to be doing away with tubs and doing only walk-in showers. And I think that is resort wide, like Disney World. All of the resorts in Disney World are eventually going to go that route, it seems like to me. So that is something to keep in mind anywhere you're staying. If you need a tub, ask a cast member if you can be placed in a room that might still have tubs available. But we were placed in a room that still had a tub and it was a very nice size. The only thing I don't like about it is that it has the glass sliding doors, which I like for showers, but when you're trying to bathe a child in the bath, it can get a little frustrating having those sliding doors. So that is one thing to think about if you do have a tub and you have little kids that you need to bathe. Just keep that in mind that that's going to be part of it. I also consider this resort to be extremely family friendly. Everywhere you go is really just, some people think that deluxe resorts really aren't meant for young children, but I would have to disagree. My kids absolutely love Wilderness Lodge. Walking around, you can roll a stroller around very easily everywhere you go. There's plenty of things to look at and explore. There is no playground outside of the splash pad, so that is one con when it comes to family friendly. You could always take the boat over to the campground after 3 o'clock. They have a playground right there, right close by to where the boats get off. So if you really wanted to, on your rest day, maybe go over there to let the kids run around a little bit if you're not feeling the pool at the moment. But so that is one con that I really wish they had a playground, but they don't. But outside of that, the kids have absolutely so much fun there. Like I said, the transportation is wonderful. Obviously, you have to fold strollers up to get to the buses, but like I mentioned with the boats, if you find a big boat, you don't have to fold up your stroller to go to Magic Kingdom, which is really nice. But other than that, it is so family friendly. There's all different types of kids' food that they could like, especially for picky eaters. But then there's also a grown-up vibe as well, that if you were going without kids or you have older kids, it makes it so that both types of families will enjoy Wilderness Lodge. It's not these giant Disney statues or Disney like in your face. So if you want more of a calming vibe, this is definitely a resort to check out because of that, because of all the subtle, like sometimes it's almost fun to be like, oh, like that's like a little Bambi, like in the wall, you know, like in the wallpaper. I don't need to have a giant picture of Bambi, you know, like it's nice to have just like a little thing of them or Chippendale or whatever. It's really nice to have those little touches throughout the resort that reminds you that you are in fact in Disney World. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about pricing. So obviously pricing fluctuates throughout the year. It's of course going to be more expensive during the holiday season, especially since they really do have a grand Christmas decoration, but it is always going to be one of the more less expensive deluxe resorts that you're going to find. I think Animal Kingdom is a little bit less than Wilderness Lodge, and I think that's because of the transportation options over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. But because you do have the boat to Magic Kingdom, that kind of bumps up the price a little bit. But even though it is in the Magic Kingdom area and you're getting that boat straight to Magic Kingdom, it really is a bargain staying at a deluxe resort, and you're not paying for Magic Kingdom resort prices like you are at the Contemporary, Grand Floridian, and Polynesian, which are some of the most expensive. Now you are in the Magic Kingdom area and getting to spend a little bit less. So that is always going to be nice when you are looking at staying at a deluxe resort. So all in all, there are some resorts that are closer to the parks that are within walking distance. Some people might not like the idea of a boat being the only option to get to Magic Kingdom. You know, if you don't like boats or you don't like being on the water, obviously this resort is not going to be for you. Some people really want that in your face Disney theming. If you do enjoy that, or your kids really want that, Wilderness Lodge is not going to be the place for you. So, and there are also other resorts that, you know, Wilderness Lodge does have a lot of dining options as in restaurants, but the food choices aren't as themed as I would really like for them to be. They do have like the bison burger over at Geyser Point, and like I said, some of those desserts that are themed. But if you go to places like the Polynesian that have those like the nachos that have like homemade wonton chips, and they have like the noodles that are like Polynesian type noodles, you know, that is one thing I feel that Wilderness Lodge is lacking a little bit in. Whispering Canyon does have more of that feel with like the skillets and things like that, but I feel that especially the quick service could be a little bit better in like the theming aspect. That is one thing that I feel is a little bit lacking. So all in all, I would give Wilderness Lodge either a 10 out of 10 if it's coming from me, or because of those small little things, it might be a 9 out of 10. And also the fact that the rooms are a little bit on the smaller side. So if you have a family bigger than 4 people, you're going to have a hard time staying there unless, like I said, you stay in a DVC room, or if you're going to get 2 rooms. So that is something to consider when thinking about the resort. But I do think that the value, the fact that Wilderness Lodge is one of the cheaper deluxe resorts to stay at, putting all of those things in account for that, I think that the value is there. I think the fact that it is lacking in a couple of these options, but you are paying less. You're not paying Polynesian, Contemporary, Grand Floridian tier and then only getting, you know, a couple of those things that are missing. You are spending less money for a smaller room and less food options. So when you put that all in all, you're still so close to Magic Kingdom. You still have that calm, cozy vibe. I think it is 100% worth the cost to stay at Wilderness Lodge. And that does it for my review of Wilderness Lodge. If you've stayed here before and you think I'm missing out on a huge pro and con in your mind, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think of Wilderness Lodge. If you've stayed before, if you want to stay again, or if it's in your plans to stay here at some point, let me know in the comments. And please like this video if it helped you out in any way. And until next time.